My dear brothers and sisters, children of grace, seekers of truth and keepers of faith, come close, lean in, and let us reason together. For today we shall speak on a subject both sacred and shadowed, blessed and burdened, tithing and the church's finances. Oh, we know the call. The good book says, "Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse." Yes, we have heard it preached from pulpits wrapped in gold, and from churches with holes in the roof. We have heard it spoken in earnest tones, and at times whispered behind closed doors. Where, oh, where does the money go? Some say it lifts the weary, feeds the hungry, clothes the naked. They say it builds sanctuaries of hope and shelters for the lost, and yet, others wonder, does it line the pockets of the powerful? Does it fund extravagance while the poor kneel on cold church floors? I tell you this, tithing is not simply an offering of coins and bills. It is an act of faith, a conversation between the heart and the heavens. It is a covenant between you and your God, a promise wrapped in sacrifice. But let us not be blind. Let us not be deaf. Faith calls for wisdom, and wisdom demands accountability. A church must be a house of light, not a den of secrets. If we give, we must know. If we trust, we must be assured. If we sacrifice, then let that sacrifice bear fruit, real, visible, nourishing fruit. So, my dear ones, ask the questions, not in anger but in righteousness, not in rebellion but in love. For love does not fear the truth, and truth does not hide in darkness. And to those who lead, those who hold the offering plates and count the tithes, let them hear this. The people do not give for riches, they give for the work of the Lord. Honor their trust, steward their sacrifice. Let the blessings flow not only upward but outward, reaching the widow, the orphan, the lost, and the least. For that is the true purpose of tithing, not the wealth of a few, but the well-being of all. And so, as we stand together bound by faith, let us walk forward with wisdom. Let us give with hearts unchained, and demand with voices unshaken. Let us ensure that when the question is asked, where does the money really go, we can answer, with heads held high, to the work of love, to the hands of justice, to the service of God's people. Amen. My dear friends, seekers of truth and stewards of faith, let us gather our thoughts and open our hearts, for we have much to discuss, much to understand, and much to hold accountable. Tithing. Ah, yes, we know its name well. We have heard it spoken in sermons laced with conviction, seen it printed in the sacred pages of Scripture, felt it move within us when the collection plate is passed from hand to hand. It is an act of faith, a whisper between the believer and the Almighty, a quiet offering laid at the feet of the Most High. But let us pause for a moment. Let us not rush past the weight of this act. For tithing is not merely the giving of coins and bills. It is the outpouring of sacrifice. It is the sweat of a laborer's brow, the toil of a mother's hands, the patience of a father's heart, the careful counting of a widow's last 2 mites. It is faith wrapped in obedience, faith walking hand in hand with hope. Yes, we give because we believe. We give because we trust. But trust, my dear ones, is not blind. Trust does not stumble in the dark, nor does it tremble at the sound of honest questions. Faith is not the absence of wisdom. Rather, faith and wisdom must dance together, must walk in step, must lean on one another like old friends who have known both joy and sorrow. Too often, we have been told to give without question, to sacrifice without understanding. We have been urged to lay our offerings down and walk away with bowed heads and silent tongues. But I tell you, faith is not silence. Faith is the courage to ask, to seek, to knock upon the door of truth. For what is faith if it is not paired with wisdom? What is giving if it is not guided by knowledge? Shall we hand over the work of our hands, the fruit of our labor, and never wonder where it falls? Shall we pour into the well of the church and never ask if the water is reaching the thirsty? No, my dear ones. No, we shall not. The church must be a place of light, not a place of secrecy. It must be a home for truth, not a house for shadows. If we give, we must know. If we sacrifice, we must see the harvest. For the God we serve is not a God of confusion. nor a God who delights in blindness. He is a God of order, a God of justice, a God who desires that his children walk in knowledge and not in ignorance. Let us then be wise. Let us then be bold. Let us give with open hearts, but also with open eyes. For tithing is not a burden, it is a blessing. It is not an obligation, it is an opportunity. It is the chance to be a part of something greater than ourselves, to build, to uplift, to restore. But a blessing must be stewarded well. The people do not give in vain. They do not sacrifice for riches to be hoarded, for luxuries to be paraded, for power to be misused. No, they give for the work of the Lord. They give for the hungry child, the homeless mother, the weary father who cannot find his way. They give for the widow, for the orphan, for the lost and the least. To those who lead, be mindful. To those who count, be watchful. To those who steward, be accountable. For every coin, every dollar, every sacrifice is not just money. It is faith made tangible, hope given shape, love poured out. And to misuse it is to betray the very people who have placed their trust in the church. And to those who give, let us not be afraid. Let us not be ashamed to ask, to seek, to know. Let us not bow our heads in silence when we are called to stand in wisdom. For faith calls us to be both generous and discerning. Faith calls us to give and to understand. So, my dear ones, when you place your offering upon the altar, do so with love. Do so with joy. Do so with trust, but also do so with wisdom. For faith is not blind, and love is not silent. Let us give boldly. And let us hold accountable. Let us sow our seeds, but let us also ensure they fall on fertile ground. For that is what God calls us to do. That is what truth requires of us. And that is what will keep the house of the Lord standing strong, a place of refuge, a place of justice, a place where all can come and know that the work of their hands has not been in vain. There is a story in every dollar, a journey in every coin. Money does not move on its own. It is carried by hands, shaped by intention, guided by purpose. And when the faithful gather in houses of worship, when they bow their heads and stretch out their hands to give, they do so with a quiet hope that their offering will not be swallowed by greed, but will be sown into the fields of righteousness. But here is the question that lingers like a shadow in the minds of many. Where does the money go? For some, the answer is simple, shining like the morning sun. The money goes where love is needed most. It goes to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to shelter the lost. It builds the church not just in brick and mortar, but in spirit, in strength, in service. It is poured into the hands of the suffering, wrapped around the weary like a warm embrace. Oh, how beautiful it is when tithes and offerings become the very breath of compassion, when they do not gather dust in bank vaults, but flow like rivers into the dry places of the world, when the church, that mighty institution of faith, stands not as a monument to power, but as a beacon of mercy. But then, my dear ones, there is the other side of the story, the side some wish to forget. It is the side where the hands that receive are not always clean, where the pockets that fill are not always empty, where the money meant to heal is sometimes used to harm. How is it that in some places the church stands tall, adorned in gold, while the people kneel in poverty? How is it that the offering plates overflow, yet the cupboards of the community remain bare? How is it that some leaders walk in robes of silk, while the widows and the orphans, the very ones Christ called us to care for, are left in rags? Let us be honest with ourselves, my dear ones. Let us not turn away from the truth, for the truth will not turn away from us. The church should be a place of light, not of secrecy. It should be a house of transparency, not of deception. If the people give, they must see. If they sacrifice, they must witness the harvest. If they trust, that trust must not be taken for granted. A tithe is not a tax, nor is it a ticket to privilege. It is an act of faith, and faith deserves respect. And so those who lead must lead with open hands, not clenched fists. They must not hoard what was given for the many and use it for the few. They must remember that every offering placed upon the altar is not merely money. It is love, it is labor, it is belief in something greater. And to those who give, I say this: do not give blindly, do not give in ignorance. Give with joy, but give with understanding. If a man builds a house, does he not first ask where his money is going? If a woman sows a field, does she not check that the soil is good? Then why, oh, why should we give to the church and never ask how it is used? It is not a sin to seek clarity. It is not rebellion to ask for truth. The church is not a place of kings and servants, of rulers and subjects. It is a family, a body, a community bound together by love and faith. And just as a father is accountable to his children, just as a shepherd is accountable to his flock, so too must the church be accountable to its people. Let the finances of the church be like a river, flowing, not stagnant. Let the tithes and offerings be like seeds, planted, not stored away in barns for personal gain. Let every dollar, every cent, every act of giving be honored with the highest integrity, so that when the people ask, where does the money go, the answer will be clear, proud, and just. For in the end, the true wealth of the church is not found in its buildings, nor in its bank accounts, nor in the lavishness of its leaders. No, the true wealth of the church is in its people, their faith, their love, their trust. And that trust must never be betrayed. So let the money go where it was always meant to go. Let it go to the hands that need it, to the hearts that cry for help, to the communities that are waiting for a miracle. Let it move as love moves, as faith moves, as justice moves. For only then can we say, with heads held high and voices unshaken, that the church has honored its calling, that the people have given well, and that the house of the Lord stands not on wealth, but on righteousness. My dear ones, hear me now. For too long we have separated ourselves into givers and takers, into those who drop their offerings into the plate and those who gather it up. We have drawn a line between the congregation and the leadership, between those who trust and those who are trusted. But I tell you, we are not divided. We are one, bound together by faith, by hope, by love. And with that oneness comes a shared responsibility, a duty to each other, a duty to truth. You see, the act of giving is a sacred thing. It is not a chore, not a transaction, not a burden placed upon weary shoulders. No, it is a song, a prayer, a whisper of faith that says, "Here, Lord, take what I have and use it for good." It is the mother who gives her last coin, believing that her sacrifice will make a way for someone else. It is the father who tithes from his wages, knowing that his faith is not in the money, but in the hands that will steward it. But, oh, my dear ones, how heavy the weight of responsibility. For just as the giver must give with faith, the receiver must receive with honor. Just as the believer must trust, the leader must be worthy of that trust. The hands that gather must be clean, and the hearts that lead must be pure. There is no power greater than the power of trust, no currency more valuable than the belief of the people. And when a leader stands before the congregation, before the altar, before God himself, they do not stand as kings or rulers, but as servants. For that is what the church was always meant to be, a place of service, not a throne of wealth, a place of healing, not a house of profit. So to those who lead, hear me now. You are not keepers of a treasure chest. You are not lords over an empire. You are stewards, caretakers, shepherds of a flock that does not belong to you but to God. Every tithe, every offering, every sacrifice that passes through your hands is a testament of faith, a measure of love, a symbol of trust. And trust must never be broken. Let the church's finances be an open book, not a sealed envelope. Let the people see where their gifts go. Let them witness the good that is done. Let them feel the impact of their giving. For what is faith without evidence? What is belief if it is built on secrecy? And to those who give, you, too, hold a responsibility. Do not give blindly. Do not give in fear. Do not give because you have been made to feel guilty or because you have been told that blessing only comes with payment. Give because you believe in the work, because you see the fruit, because your heart tells you that what you give will be used for the good of all. Ask the questions, not in defiance, but in love. Seek the answers, not to condemn, but to understand. Hold your leaders accountable, not with anger, but with wisdom. For a house built on truth will stand, but a house built on secrecy will crumble. And the church, my dear ones, must stand not for the sake of its leaders, but for the sake of its people. When the widow gives her last coin, let her know that it will feed another. When the worker tithes from his wages, let him see that it builds something real, something righteous. Let no one give in vain. Let no one sacrifice without seeing the harvest. For the church is not a business, not a corporation, not an institution built on wealth. It is a refuge. It is a sanctuary. It is a home for the weary, a place of hope for the hopeless. And when the finances of the church are handled with honesty, with integrity, with justice, oh, what a powerful place it becomes. A beacon of light, a force for good, a testament to what faith can do when it is honored and respected. So, my dear ones, let us walk together in wisdom. Let us give with joy and question with righteousness. Let us trust with open hearts and demand with open eyes. Let us build a church that does not fear accountability, that does not hide its wealth, but shares it, that does not serve the few, but uplifts the many. For only then can we say, with truth in our voices and peace in our hearts, that we have given well, that we have led well, that we have honored the house of the Lord in both spirit and stewardship. And when the question is asked, where does the money go? Let the answer be clear. Let it be just. Let it be worthy of the faith that built it.